Hi, everyone at the International Arts and Culture Group, the TIAC. This is Miguel Mayher from the Professional Artist Institute. Thanks for having me. And I'm very excited to share with you today some of the insights that we've seen after working with hundreds of artists around the world. And especially as of this recording, we are still hopefully more than halfway through, but you never know, global pandemic and how this has impacted basically the way of making a living as an artist. So I'll be happy to share today some of the insights that we found on mainly the four key ways that artists have to turn their hard-earned art skills into something that can sustain themselves. Okay, so number one, just to give you a bit of context, who am I? Why might you want to listen to me? My background is kind of like an easel, a three-legged easel. On the one hand, there is arts. I was painting since I was 8 years old. I did a postgraduate degree in fine arts at the University of the Arts London. And this is what actually led me to get in touch with the TIAC, where I was in an artist residency for 1 week with Antonio Lopez in Spain. And I got to meet Len Guo, the founder, inspiring founder of the International Arts and Culture Group. And that led them to invite me to start running some workshops. But what these workshops were about was not art, that first leg that I just mentioned, but was actually about business, which is the other leg in my profile, which is, I have been working with startups at Google, running their accelerator in Japan, and did an MBA at INSEAD. So that put me in a position where I could understand both the business mindset and the artist mindset, which are two channels that work in a path of huge uncertainty, right? It's not following a subscribed path where you just go level by level and you know what's ahead. It's a path of exploration. And therefore, surprisingly, there's a lot of tools that both entrepreneurs and artists can help each other with. And the third leg would be technology. So my background is also in computer engineering. And I had the chance to be, as I mentioned, working at Google, where I was doing partnerships with national museums, bringing their artwork online, digitizing and making those artworks accessible around the world. So these three legs of technology, business, and arts is what has put me in a situation where I wasn't even looking for it. But when you start getting a lot of feedback, people telling you that, wow, you're actually pretty good at this, I'm bad at many things. And that's what made me double down on this area of, okay, how can we help and empower professional visual artists to make a living and thrive in their journey? So with that said, there's basically three things that we do at the Professional Artist Institute. You can go to professionalartist.com. And on the one hand, before even the pandemic struck, we created the biggest online event, which is the Fine Artist Summit, where we interviewed 30 plus arts professionals and fine artists around the world to see what is it that they do to make a living and make this a thriving journey, and not something that they have to finish after they finish art school, because there's no way for them to sustain themselves, right? That was the catalyst for us to build an audience and to get insight from thousands of artists. Over 30,000 as of this recording, artists around the world have gone through those inspiring sessions. And then we started creating and developing, which with Ana Rosa, by the way, you were in that first pilot a few years ago, was Mastering the Business of Art, right? Which is our flagship online training, also called the Art MBA, on how to apply this entrepreneurial mindset and this creativity that you have in the studio to actually create opportunities for yourself outside the studio, right? To actually get gallery representation, to actually get an audience that you can sell your artwork directly to collectors, and to potentially, for example, sell your workshop. So I'm going to get into a bit more detail of what are the four key opportunities that we've seen that work best for artists to make a living. But that training is what has been a combination of bringing in a faculty of experts, of the people that wrote the book on their topic, whether it's how to sell art or it is how to write about your art. And we put them together in the things that I actually didn't have the chance to learn in art school. And it's kind of funny because one of our faculty members wrote the book, What They Didn't Teach You in Art School, right? And then the third piece of what we do at professionalartist.com is actually coaching, right? Because we find that even if you have the how-to, it can be a bit of a lonely journey. So having that hand holding and having the ability to ask a coach to tell you, yeah, have a look at my email, have a look at my portfolio, have a look at this new website that I just created. And that can really build you the confidence and the two thumbs up of knowing that, okay, you're doing it the right way, you're applying the advice the right way so that you can get results as fast as possible. So this is just to tell you that we are in the unique position that we get to work with many, many artists. And we get to see patterns, right? You start to see what are the few things that those artists that are getting results are doing that works, and what are some things that people spending a lot of time on that actually is probably not the best use of your time. Okay, so here are what we've seen are, as of today, the four main areas that you may want to consider if you want to increase, literally, and I'm going to use words that are not appealing, attractive, and not part of the common discussion when we're talking about art, right? But how do you grow your art income, your art revenue, right? Your sales. You want to be able to sustain yourself, thrive, get a bigger studio, get an assistant, get into art fairs, and money is important for that. But on the other hand, you also, there are certain things you're not willing to do to get there, right? You don't want to spoil your reputation. You want to get recognition and exposure and visibility, but you don't want to do it at the cost of selling your soul. You don't want to be making art just because it sells. Otherwise, there are much easier and faster ways of making a living than being an artist. So it's this tension between your reputation and the revenue that most artists end up putting so much emphasis on the reputation and not being afraid of making mistakes that they actually don't take risks. And they just go back to the studio, make art, and then just hope that things sell, and the art just keeps piling up, right? And some artists actually, yeah, there is also a possibility you become too commercial, you forget the reason you actually started in this journey, and you lose the essence of what was making your art basically unique. Okay, so I'm going to focus in this conversation on 4 methods of raising your revenue as a professional artist that does not require you to compromise your integrity and your artwork, okay? So I want to make it very clear that the difference between any other kind of business and the business side of your art is that you're making your art first from inside, putting it into the world, and we're going to find the people that are interested in it. Whereas normal businesses, they go and see what is the demand, what do people want, and then they go and they create that shoe or that t-shirt, whatever it may be. Very different, right? And we like to say that in business, it's a virtue to be demand driven, and in art, it's a sin, right? Okay, so with that said, number 1, the fastest way, if right now, let's say that your income is at 0, what would be my recommendation over the next 30 days to start making your first $1,000 or euros or pounds or whatever it is that your local currency with your art skills? And the answer, not surprisingly, is teaching, right? And more than just teaching online. And when I say teaching online, many people think, oh, I'm going to do an online course. No. I'm talking about doing a live online workshop. Having that ability to teach a small group of 5 to 10 people your art skills, that is the fastest way for you to go from 0 to 1, right? And what we found is the moment that location is not a problem, because what we had many students that were doing face-to-face workshops, and when the pandemic hit, that income dropped to 0. So they came to us for help, like, how do I go out and do this online, right? And we quickly put together a mastermind. We quickly put together a process. It worked so well, we decided to reinvest our efforts in doing a new version of that module. And now it's like the number 1 thing that we suggest artists when they join our coaching program to focus on, because like literally in a matter of a few weeks, you can make a few thousand. Why? Because just run the math, right? If you have 5 to 10 people paying you $99 to $199, that is basically 100 times 10, that would be 1,000. If they're paying you 200, that'd be 2,000, right? And all you need is to spend 1 afternoon per week, 4 weeks per month teaching, right? Sharing what you love to do most. And here's a few of the objections that people sometimes have. Oh, but I don't know if I'm good enough, right? I see all this video so professionally edited, and like, who am I to teach when these people are so much more advanced? Well, at any point, there's always someone that is 2 steps ahead of you in terms of skill, and someone that is 2 steps behind. So when you're teaching, you're looking at those that are 2 steps behind, right? And you are better positioned than someone that is 4 or 8 steps ahead, who already forgot what it was to be like when you were closer to those people, right? So think of who is it that you can lend a hand and help live in this kind of private, intimate video online workshop, which is most famous artists that you're looking at won't be available to deliver that, right? So you're offering a service that is not available and not at that scale of intimacy and not at the level of expertise and the specific topic that you want to do, because you want to be as niche as possible, right? Don't do like drawing 101. You might want to do, okay, how to do portrait, your first portrait in charcoal. Much more specific and much easier to find people that are specifically looking for that. Okay, I'm not going to go into the tactical details, but that's number one. Find a way to offer online workshops to people and get paid before you deliver the workshop. And don't sell per class. You're not selling your time, you're selling an outcome. In this case, for example, what your promise is, I'm going to help you create your first charcoal drawing. By the end of our workshop, you'll be able to hang it or you'll be able to gift it to someone else, right? That's what people are paying for. They're not paying for hours of drawing. There's a little bit of a mindset block that I see often artists are making when they're crafting their offer, right? All right, so that's number one. And just doing that, imagine just having half a day a week or 1 day a week where you do the teaching, and that's enough to cover all your living expenses, your lifestyle. Well, what would that do for you, right? Like that's a big change. And it's much easier to keep someone that does the 4 weeks and likes it and continues onto month 2 and month 3 and refers you to new people than it is to sell our works. And we're going to get into that in a moment. But the point is that this is a service, and a service is always easier to sell than a product. And a product is kind of like a boom and bust cycle, right? You have a big opening, hopefully goes well, you sell a lot of work, and then it's like a low valley of a few months until the next show, right? Whereas a service like teaching is something that you can continually do in very consistently, and it doesn't take you that much time. Okay, let's go into number 2. Let's say that you have your online teaching up and running, you have your small group, you're starting to generate some income, you're not longer at 0, now you're at 1,000 or 2,000 per month, right? What would be the next step? Well, naturally, you probably want to sell your artworks, right? You're starting to pile up in the studio, and you don't want to just continue giving them out for free for family. It's not good for your self-esteem, and it's not good for actually valuing your art as it should be valued, right? So there's 3 ways, and these are the other 3 ways that we're going to talk about for the rest of this. One is building your audience. That means growing a group of followers, of fans, of people that raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested in your artist journey. I'm interested in learning about new artworks that you're going to do, okay? That's what we're going to talk about now before we go into 3 or 4. So natural ways of doing this that you're most likely familiar with. Social media, right? Everyone is there, right? As of today, right now, probably number 1 for visual artists is Instagram. It's the place to be. They're all there, right? It's an extremely visual platform. This might change in the future. Social media platforms come and go. But the point is that you are sharing your artwork and people decide to follow you. They're voting, right? They say, yes, I want more of what you have to produce. I'm going to keep an eye on your work, right? Now, this is a very shallow relationship. This is kind of the shallowest kind of relationship that you can have with anyone, is being friends on Facebook without knowing them anything at all, right? Or following someone on Instagram. But it is better than nothing. They're not a complete stranger, and they've taken some commitment, some action towards interest in your art. What we want to do is move that audience into a deeper level of connection with you. And from social media, we move into email. Email goes from a public sphere to a one-on-one interaction, right? When you receive an email, it doesn't matter if it's a newsletter or it's one person that wrote you a handwritten email. You are reading one-to-one with the other person. There is no likes in real time and comments. It's you and your inbox, which is a very private space, right? So that transition into email, they had to give you your email. Don't just add them to your email list. If they didn't give it to you, that's not good. It's not going to work, and it's almost actually illegal in some countries. But if they submit their email for joining your list, now you can communicate with them on an ongoing basis, at least on a monthly basis. And what we're doing is we're moving them down. It's called a funnel, right? From social media to email to opportunities to buy your work. And this is what it is, the second pillar, which is growing an audience to sell your work directly to that audience, right? And basically it means that you're giving an opportunity for people to own your work And, we can go into all the tactics into what to say in your newsletter and how to offer it in a way that you're not sounding like a used car salesman, and because you're selling fine art, right? So it's delicate, and the way that you position it has to be subtle. And there is a way of doing it that makes people feel they're part of your inner circle, and they feel glad that you're providing them the opportunity and priority access to new artworks, right? So there's a bit of mathematics going on here. It's very simple math. Imagine you have 500 followers in Instagram, right? And every now and then you get one commission, right? Let's say you get a commission every 6 months with 500 followers, right? Well, if you had 5,000 followers, I'm not going to say you're going to get 10 times as many commissions, but arguably you might get 2 or 3 times as many, right? And if instead of 5,000 followers, you had 20,000 followers, then we can see how then you might get into a rhythm where you're getting 2 or 3 requests for commissions per month, right? I'm just making up these numbers, but what you need to understand is that on the one hand, you need to grow your audience. On the other hand, you need to convert that audience into collectors. So some people just focus on, oh, what's the right word I need to put there for people to buy from my list? And they have 15 people in their list. Well, look, you can't squeeze a lemon that much, right? Like you need to grow your audience. You need to have more people in your list. And other people are just too afraid. They don't want to do or put or say something in their list that people are going to unsubscribe. Wonderful. When people unsubscribe, you should get happy. They're just telling you, I'm not your audience, right? Nothing personal. They're saying, I'm not going to buy your work, and I don't even want to read your emails. Fantastic. Guess what? 99.99% of the planet is in that bucket. Your goal is to find the 0.01% that loves your work, that wants to hear from you all the time and wants to see you succeed, right? That is the challenge of growing your audience. It's not a numbers game in the sense of how big is your Instagram account? Who cares? How engaged are they? How many commissions are you getting? Are people buying your work? Are you getting new opportunities from it, right? So be careful with the vanity metric of how many email subscribers I have or how many social media followers I have. What matters is the engagement. You want to have engaged followers and provide an opportunity to these people to join you on your artist journey. And every now and then, you want to give, and every now and then have an opportunity for them to buy your artwork. Okay, so that's pillar number 2, growing your own audience and having an opportunity to sell directly to collectors. What's good about this is it's in your control. You're not depending on any middle person, any gatekeeper, right? You can go ahead, go online, start providing content, and people start following you. They like your work. You grow that, and every now and then you sell, and you don't have to give a commission to any gallery or anything like that. You get to keep it all, right? Now, that said, you need to do it right because there's a lot of noise out there nowadays, right? And again, as of this recording, there's a pandemic going on. People are spending a lot of time online, so you need to differentiate yourself. The good thing is they're spending a lot of time online, right? So the sales are happening online. So this is the perfect time to start your online audience. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is instead of growing your own audience, you piggyback on someone's audience. They spend the last 5 to 10 years growing their audience, and that audience happens to have the same interest aligned with your artwork. Let's say, for example, that you are, the theme of your artwork is horses, and you do portrait horses, right? And you love horses. Like actually, this is coming to mind because one of our coaches, 2 of them we actually had, right? They were focused on horses, and she loves horseback riding. And it's like a no-brainer that there's other audiences out there. And when I say audience, I mean people that listen to podcasts, I mean YouTube channels, I mean Instagram accounts that are just beautiful photography, right? Where people love horses. Now, if you get exposure to an audience of 1,000 people who love horses and riding horses, what do you think are the odds that 0 of them have an interest in buying horse art related artwork? Well, I think it would be very weird, right? Chances are there's going to be a 1 to 5% of those people that resonate. Not just they love your topic, but actually they love your work. But more importantly, if you have someone recommending you, someone inviting you, for example, interviewing you in their podcast, you are suddenly immediately credible, right? Because this person has been cultivating trust for 5 years with their audience, and now they're saying, hey, this is Anna. Anna's a fine artist, and she makes beautiful portraits of horses. And today we're gonna have the opportunity to look at horses from the eyes of an artist. And Anna, welcome on board, right? And then you're just talking there, adding values, showing your perspective. And at the very end, you provide an opportunity for people to order commissions. Isn't that a natural thing to do? You're talking about your passionate topic, and then at the very end, for those who want, there's an opportunity specifically for the audience. So this is what it's called in business, called like a joint venture. It's a very technical term. You can just call it a partnerships. When I was doing for Google Arts and Culture partnerships with museums, in a way, that's what we were doing is we're telling the museum, look, this is Google. We have a lot of the internet, right? Like a lot of audience, and you have your content, your beautiful artworks, thousands of years old. Bring it into our platform, and we're going to give visibility to your artwork when people are searching for your artworks or for your museum online, etc. Right? So it's like this sharing of alignment on our interests and sharing of the exposure. You could do the same thing at your own scale by partnering with people that already have your ideal audience. And sometimes it's not as obvious because you're not doing portrait horses. You might be wondering, well, but I'm doing, I don't know, maybe you're doing even abstract work, which might be one of the hardest to do for partnerships. But what is the theme? What is the topic? What is the subject underlining your work, right? There's probably a deeper philosophical theme, and there's many isms out there, right? So I'm sure there's another audience that is interested in that, but not from a visual art perspective. And then you can come in through that angle, okay? All right, so that's number 3. Let's recap. We said fastest way to make the next 1,000 online is do online workshops teaching your art skills. You can do that in literally the next 4 weeks. Number 2, growing your audience. In order to make your first dollar, growing your audience, selling to your audience, you should budget about 3 months to start your online exposure through social media, run up your first 100 plus email subscribers, give them value, and offer them an opportunity for buying, right? And then we're moving into leveraging other people's audiences, right? And we're saying that through partnerships. And there again, it's about a 3-month from doing your list of potential partners to pitching them to then getting on their platform and that converting into a sale. And, you know, of course, I'm giving you the high level, and we don't have time now to go into the detail exactly how to pitch them, where to find them, etc. But hopefully this is making sense where we have pillars and some of them are faster than others. But what you have to see is that they're all compatible, right? It's not like if you do partnerships, you cannot do online workshops. No. Like you can do all 3. And now we're going to get into the 4th one, which is galleries, right? Like galleries are still there. They're still working. Many of them are selling very well, and they're actually selling to their list of collectors that they have, and they're selling via email. And the thing with galleries is you need to think of it as a long-term game and more of a strategy, right? So galleries, we recommend at least 6-month timeline in order for you to get signed up with a gallery. 6 to 12 months is a very healthy mindset to have, right? And when it comes to galleries, you need to do the research. Something that we notice is some artists are like, I would like to be in gallery A and B. If that happened, then everything would be good, life would be good, and they can take care of the sales, and I'm just in my studio working, right? But there's so much attachment, so much clinginess in your energy when you just like, oh, if only that gallery took me on. Whereas if you had a list of 100 galleries that are a good fit, of course, some of them might be a terrific fit, others an okay fit, and others would be like, well, it would be, I would consider it. Then your mindset becomes one of abundance, becomes one of it's a numbers game, and we're going to go down the list and we're going to approach them. And all of them, I mean, you've done your research, you find your dream 100 galleries, but you're going to go ahead and go down the list from those that are least least attractive to you, and leave the most attractive to you to the bottom. There's 2 reasons for doing this. The first one is that you're going to get better at approaching, right? And you're not going to care much about those that are at the bottom of your list. So there's going to be much less clinginess, right? And you're going to learn and tweak and iterate your pitch as you go down the list, right? So you're just going to get better. 99 versus number 50. At number 50, you're gotten a lot better, whether it is you're sending email or there is you're going in person. You're going to be able to have opportunities to see which are the messages that are getting replies and tweaking that, and the conversations, how to navigate them, right? That's one reason, which is a very important reason. The other reason is if you already have gallery representation, it's easier to get a second and a third one, right? It's kind of like when people have a job and they're thinking of going for another job, it's better to get the next job before you go become unemployed and then try to get another job. It shows that you're in demand, right? And even if you don't sign with a gallery, just saying, I have these other 2 galleries that want to sign me up, but let's discuss because you are really my top candidate. it makes you a lot more attractive because other people have already vouched for you. So by going down the list from the least attractive to the most attractive, once you start getting to the very attractive ones, your pitch and your approach is much better, your confidence is up, and hopefully you have one or two already that have signaled that they are potentially interested, that you can leverage that towards the ones that you really, really want and say, look, I'm in conversation with these two, but really, I think that we would be the best match. So that's a summary of the 4 ways that we would recommend in that order for artists watching this today on how they can use their art skills to generate income so that they can focus on the reputation side and on the creation side and not have to worry about paying the bills or whether this is sustainable or they're going to have to need to get a full-time job eventually, right? Teach your skills, grow your audience and sell directly to them, leverage through partnerships, other people's audiences, and get into galleries, which galleries are basically, it's a partnership as well, right? It's a partnership where they're going to do the sales, you're going to do the art creation, but basically they're going to go and reach to their audience and sell your work. If you think of the most successful people in the world, whatever that means to you, because success is a very relative term, right? But chances are they have, and maybe they may not call it coaches, they may call it mentors, or they may call it advisors, but they have people they can call up and get a second opinion on, right? No one knows everything. And you know, one of the things I realized when we first did the pilot of the Art MBA and Mastering the Business of Art is I don't know everything either. I've read hundreds of books and I've been very fortunate to have a very broad experience, but there are topic experts that spend the last 20 or 30 years going deep into the topic, going deep into how to get into a gallery, or the last 5 years growing 500,000 followers on Instagram. Like, you want to go directly to people that have already gotten the result that you want, and they're going to be able to help you skip a lot of the pain and frustration that they had to get there and give you the short version so that you can execute. So I would say there is no downside in trying to get 2 or 3 people that you can ask for advice and become their mentee, become their coachee, become their student. And it's important that you ask good questions, right? So if you're going to go the route of trying to get quote unquote free advice, right? Think that these people are probably very busy, right? And they probably get questions all the time. But also you don't want to think like, I don't have anything to offer. Like you do have something to offer. Number one, people love giving advice when you take action on it and they see you get results, right? Like successful people want you to be successful. They want you to get results, right? But what happens is very often they give advice and then the person does nothing. And then it's like, oh, well, that was a waste of my time. They don't want to waste their time. So if you show that you are someone that is dedicated and whenever they give you advice, you follow up, you get back to them and say, okay, you told me to do this. I did this. This was the result. Thanks for your feedback. And now I'm going to focus on this. Just doing that is going to set you apart from 99 other people that approach them, right? And develop a relationship with them. Just approach them, engage with their content, whether they have a book, leave a reply there. If they post on social media, just be genuine, right? Like, if it's someone that you appreciate their advice, but also be direct, right? There's no downside in private messaging someone, and ask them a very simple, small question that is easy for them to answer in about 30 seconds max, right? Don't ask questions that you can find on Google, okay? Sorry to say that, but don't ask questions that are, if I put the same question in Google is going to give me that shows that you're not respecting their time. Show that you've done the work, perhaps you've read their book and you've done this, but now you're stuck with this point. What would they recommend you do? A, B, or C? That is very different. You're much more likely to get a reply from them. Then go do what they tell you and get back to them. And you're going to see that way you can develop a relationship with someone that can provide you advice. Now, if you don't have time to do all of this, then coaches, the right coach can be a huge fuel for you to get faster results, because there are people that are actually dedicating their work to helping others get faster results, right? And that's what we're doing here in the Professional Artist Institute, right? Is like by working with hundreds of artists, coaching them specifically on what they need to do, we start to see patterns, and then we provide templates and email templates and word by word, etc. So it's like, well, would you write together in 10 years or in the next 12 months? Like, it's up to you. We're just going to take away a lot of the frustration and give you, this is the bottom line, what works. Does it mean that everyone needs to get one? No, I don't think it's for everyone. And I think that, I mean, right now, if you're at zero, well, maybe you should just try to find how to go from 0 to 1 on your own, right? There's a lot of free content out there, or just, purchase some course that gives you some results, follow through it. And once you get some results, then you can look into coaches. Coaches, it's a little bit, it's not as affordable as doing it on a self-paced basis, right? But absolutely, like even myself, like I started getting much faster results when I started going to people who already had the result and asking for advice. And if I give the example, for example, of Fine Artist Summit, I searched for someone that I thought was one of the best people in the world at running online summits, not for the art world, but he had done it in other industries. And basically I followed his advice and I tried to execute very specifically what he had done. And I would credit a lot of the results that we got in 6 months because I was following a proven method and I had to figure out everything from scratch, right? So if time is of the essence for you, then I would say coaching is a great fit. If accountability is important for you because you know what you have to do, but you just don't do it, you find yourself keep procrastinating, then coaching is another element that can be very helpful. And then lastly, I would say that there are opportunity cost, right? Like if you don't get to your outcome in the next 12 months and you wait 5 years, that's 4 extra years that you could have been getting money for online paid workshops or selling your artwork or getting to galleries. So it's not just what it would cost you to invest in yourself and buy a course or get a coach, is like, what is the cost of not doing that and not getting there earlier, all the months ahead and all the years ahead? So that's a very counterintuitive point that most people don't think about when they're thinking of making an investment in their career, is that what is the cost of not taking this action, because time is going to pass anyway. And that is time that you would not be getting those results otherwise. Well, if anything that we shared here was useful to you, then I think the first step might be go to professionalartist.com or go to artmba.com, and basically you can sign up to our private email list. And about every week we share tips and things that we're seeing are working with our coaching students, so that you can get a feeling of what it is, the results that you can expect when you do the right thing. And also, it can help you to understand that a lot of the frustrations that might be going on in your head, like you're not alone, like you think you're very unique in your mental troubles, and maybe you're feeling isolation, maybe you're feeling self-doubt, and these things are, I'm joking here, okay, but they're boringly common, right? It's very normal. So it helps to empathize and realize that you're not alone, and see that other people are going through the struggles of a journey of uncertainty. But hopefully we can provide you some guidelines of things that can lower the uncertainty, at least on the pragmatic side, so that you can have all the uncertainty you want in the studio on the creative side. And if you might be interested in working with us and you would like us to look at your situation and audit and help you craft the next 12 months of your roadmap of how that look like, then you can go to professionalartist.com/apply. And we'll ask you a few questions. And if it sounds like we're a good fit, we'll give you a seat and we'll have a 45-minute conversation, no obligation, just to see whether we can help you. And at the very least, you're going to get full clarity after that call. You're going to be like knowing, like, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, this is what it takes me to get there. But if it sounds like we're a good fit, we may also extend an invitation to join our Invite Only coaching program, where we'll get into more details about that. So that's professionalartist.com/apply.